She was shoved into a pool while the elite laughed because she was too plain, too quiet, too out of place. Is that the same girl who couldn't swim? That dress looks straight out of a charity bin. So her billionaire husband must have married the wrong file. What no one knew was that she had spent 5 years learning to swim, and she and her husband were about to launch a plan to take them all down. Clara Hale, 28, stood near a magnolia tree. Her simple cream sundress, $30 from a local boutique, rested softly against her slender frame. Her auburn hair was pinned loosely, framing a face of quiet beauty, high cheekbones, and green eyes that held a storm beneath their calm. Born in a Pittsburgh steel town to a factory worker mother, Clara had clawed her way through community college, eventually landing a job as a technical assistant in a strategic AI lab. There, she had met Alexander Callahan, 35, a defense mogul whose $10 billion empire built drones and cybersecurity systems. Their love, forged in late-night lab talks, had led to a private marriage 2 years ago. No media. No fanfare. High society had dubbed her the shadow beside the titan. Her modesty was a mystery they scorned. The Clarendon estate sprawled across 200 acres of Virginia's rolling hills. Its limestone mansion stood like a monument to the Vance family's old money. On this July afternoon in 2025, the annual poolside summer gathering had drawn 150 of the upper elite, hedge fund titans, fashion moguls, and political insiders. The Olympic-sized pool, framed by marble columns and blooming magnolias, shimmered under the sun. Its turquoise depths served as a stage for wealth's cruel games. Waiters in crisp white jackets glided with champagne flutes while a string quartet's notes floated over laughter. Guests in $1,000 swimsuits and tailored linens moved like royalty. At the center of it all stood Veronica Vance, 30, the family's golden heir. Her emerald bikini and diamond anklet flashed as she held court. Her smirk was a blade sharpened by privilege. Today, Clara's presence, announced as Alexander's wife, sent whispers through the crowd. Curiosity sparked. Disdain followed. Flashbacks hit Clara like a chill. 2020, a college pool party. Her thrift store swimsuit. Veronica and her clique circling her. You don't belong here, Gray Mouse, Veronica had sneered. Then the shove. Clara, unable to swim, flailing as water filled her lungs, until a stranger dragged her out. The laughter had echoed long after she coughed her way back to breath. Veronica's laugh had been the loudest. That laughter had never left her. For 5 years, Clara had trained. Not for sport, but for survival. Her strokes honed in a YMCA pool. Every movement a promise. Never again. Now, standing at Clarendon, she felt the weight of that day. But her silence wasn't weakness. It was a trap. And Alexander was part of it. The elite turned, their gazes sharpening, as Veronica sauntered closer. Born into a $2 billion real estate dynasty, her charm masked a ruthless hunger for dominance. Remember last time, Clara? She said, her grin venomous. I still picture you flailing like a wet kitten. Laughter erupted. A hedge fund manager, Ethan Brooks, 40, adjusted his Rolex and smirked. That dress looks like it's from a thrift shop clearance. The crowd roared again. Clara's mind flashed, not to shame, but to her lab. Her calculations outpacing PhDs. Her silence becoming armor. Nearby, a cluster of academics gathered near the estate's library terrace. She's an imposter, sneered Dr. Helen Warwick, 47, a sociology professor from an Ivy League university. A community college dropout playing billionaire's wife. Her colleague, historian Edward Holt, 50, chuckled. Her intellect's as plain as that dress. Martini glasses lifted in mockery. Clara, Helen called out. You're not a scholar. You're a secretary. The terrace roared. Clara's mind flickered to long nights coding, solving problems PhDs couldn't. Her mother's voice echoed softly in memory. Your mind is your crown. She stood still. Her silence a fortress. But the sting was real. Across the rose garden, old money aristocrats joined in. She's a peasant, scoffed Charlotte Lang, 42. A charity case. Victor Klein, 45, laughed. That dress, did she sew it from tablecloths? Clara, Charlotte called out. You're not a guest. You're an exhibit. More laughter. Clara remembered her mother's factory shifts, the pride in her daughter's achievements. She didn't move. She didn't answer. Near the cabanas, fashion influencers joined the assault. She's a nobody, hissed Lila Grant, 27, a Vogue darling. Alexander married the help. Her friend Theo Klein laughed. That sundress is giving discount rack. Clara, Lila called out. Did you borrow that dress from the maid? The cabanas erupted. Clara remembered her mother sewing her prom dress. Her silence held. Near the fountain, charity board members added their voices. She's a fraud, said Evelyn Tate, 38. A lab worker marrying a billionaire? She's after his wallet. Clara, Evelyn called out. Did you come to beg for a donation? The crowd murmured approval. Clara thought of her small bookstore, quietly funding children's dreams. She stood still. At the poolside bar, political insiders sneered. She's a fraud, said Marcus Tate, 45, a lobbyist. A lab assistant snagging a billionaire. Clara, he called. You're not elite. You're baggage. Laughter again. Clara remembered her wedding. Alexander's vow. I will stand with you, no matter what. Still, she didn't respond. Even the estate staff joined in. She thinks she's elite in that dollar store dress, sneered Jasper Reed, 29. Clara, another added. You're not dining. You're the help. The humiliation deepened. Event planners chimed in too. You're not on the guest list, Clara Dunn said coldly. You're a glitch. The word lingered. Erased. Clara felt the sting, but her silence remained deliberate. They were building the case for her. Every insult. Every laugh. Every witness. Veronica stepped closer, her anklet flashing. You still can't swim, can you? She whispered, low and lethal. The crowd leaned in. Clara took a slow step back. The pool's edge was inches behind her. Her green eyes locked onto Veronica's. Calm. Unshaken. Because this time, she wasn't the girl who drowned. She was the one waiting for the moment to strike. Veronica's smirk sharpened as the laughter around them swelled, feeding her confidence. You're still the gray mouse, she hissed, her voice low, meant only for Clara. You think Alexander's ring makes you one of us? You're nothing but a drowning rat. Her words echoed the cruelty of 2020 with surgical precision. Then she straightened, tossing her hair, her diamond anklet catching the sunlight. Clara, she called out louder, drawing the crowd in. Why don't you jump in and spare us the embarrassment? The crowd roared. A cruel wave of laughter crashed over the poolside. Glasses lifted. Eyes gleamed with anticipation. Clara didn't move. Her mind flickered, not to fear, but to the YMCA pool. Endless laps. Burning lungs. Controlled breathing. Precision. Survival. Her heart was steady. Her silence, intentional. Veronica's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. Clara's calm unsettled her. So she pushed further. Ladies and gentlemen, Veronica announced, grabbing a mock award plaque from a nearby table. Today's winner, Clara Hale, Eternal Nobody. The words blasted through the estate speakers. Laughter erupted louder than before. Come claim your prize! Sophia Vance, Veronica's cousin, shouted from the side. The crowd leaned closer, forming a circle. The stage was set. Veronica tossed the plaque at Clara's feet. It clattered against the stone. Clara didn't look down. Her green eyes remained locked forward. Her silence, no longer passive, felt like defiance. Veronica felt it. And she hated it. That calm. That refusal to break. So she stepped closer. Closer. Until Clara's heels hovered at the very edge of the pool. You still can't swim, Veronica whispered, her voice tight with something sharper now, unease. Can you? For a split second, time slowed. Clara's gaze shifted. Across the lawn. Alexander. Walking fast. His navy suit sharp. His expression already darkening. Their eyes met. And Clara gave him the smallest nod. A signal. Months in the making. Alexander understood instantly. This wasn't chaos. This was execution. Then, Veronica shoved her. Hard. Clara's body tilted backward. Gasps ripped through the crowd. And she disappeared into the turquoise water. Splash. The pool swallowed her whole. For a heartbeat. Silence. Then chaos. Oh my God! She fell. Did she? But beneath the surface. Clara didn't panic. No flailing. No fear. Her body moved with controlled stillness. Her eyes open. Her mind clear. The fall is real. The humiliation is real. But this time, they don't walk away. Above the water. Alexander was already running. Then diving. Fully clothed. Splash. He cut through the water with precision, reaching her within seconds. The crowd watched, frozen. He pulled her up. Her body limp. Too limp. Too still. Gasps spread like wildfire. No, no, she's not moving! Alexander carried her out of the pool, water streaming from his suit. His face. A storm barely contained. He laid her gently on the poolside. Call the medics! Someone shouted. But they were already moving. Because they had always been there. Placed. Prepared. Part of the plan. 2 medics rushed forward, dropping to their knees beside Clara. Checking her pulse. One of them looked up. Grave. She's not breathing. The words hit like a gunshot. The crowd froze. Champagne glasses lowered. Smiles vanished. Fear crept in. Veronica laughed. But it wasn't the same laugh anymore. It cracked. And no, she can swim, she said quickly. Everyone knows that. It's just a performance. Alexander stood slowly. Water dripping from his suit. His gray eyes locked onto her. Cold. Lethal. So you admit, he said quietly, his voice cutting through the air. You pushed someone into a pool, believing she couldn't swim. Silence. Total. Complete. You just confessed, he continued, one step closer. To attempted murder. The world shifted. Veronica's face strained of color. Her anklet no longer gleamed. It dulled. Ethan Brooks stopped smiling. Lila Grant's sunglasses slipped down her nose. Marcus Tate's confident posture collapsed. The crowd now understood. This wasn't a party anymore. This was a crime scene. And they had all witnessed it. Behind Alexander, Clara lay still. Silent. Motionless. But this time, she wasn't the girl drowning in helpless panic. She was the center of a trap. And it had just snapped shut. The crowd stood frozen. The laughter was gone. In its place, fear. Whispers spread like cracks through glass. Champagne flutes lowered. No one dared speak too loudly anymore. Veronica's lips parted, her confidence collapsing in real time. It was a joke, she stammered. She's faking. She has to be. Alexander didn't look away from her. Not even for a second. Water still dripped from his suit, pooling at his feet, but his posture was unshaken, controlled, precise, lethal. You pushed her, he said, his voice calm, almost surgical. And you believed she couldn't swim. Veronica swallowed. The crowd leaned back from her, instinctively creating distance. Because now, she was dangerous. Security moved in. And then, the first crack of consequence hit. Alexander turned slowly to the crowd. Every guest who laughed at my wife, he said, his voice carrying across the estate. Your investments with Callahan Industries are terminated. Gasps erupted. Names followed like falling blades. Lang Enterprises. Tate Charities. Vance Realty. Each one, Cut off. Millions lost. Contracts dissolved. Empires shaken. Charlotte Lang's pearls seemed to choke her as she staggered back. Victor Klein's face strained as if the ground beneath him had vanished. It was a misunderstanding, he tried. But no one listened. Security stepped forward, presenting documents. Frozen accounts. Voided contracts. The elite, untouchable just minutes ago, were unraveling. Alexander didn't stop. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a dossier. Dr. Helen Warwick, he said, his eyes slicing toward her. You weaponized knowledge. A tablet was handed to security. Emails. Dated 2020. Helen advising Veronica to exclude Clara from academic circles. The crowd gasped. Helen's face collapsed. Her authority, gone. Her career shattered. Edward Holt's briefcase slipped from his hand. It was professional, he whispered weakly. But even he didn't believe it anymore. Alexander stepped forward again. Another file. Evelyn Tate, he continued. You preach charity, while planning exclusion. More documents. More proof. Grants revoked. Boards dissolved. Reputations erased. Evelyn's voice broke as she tried to speak, but nothing came out. The illusion of kindness had died in front of everyone. Then, the police arrived. Sirens in the distance. Flashing lights cutting through wealth and silence. Veronica's breathing quickened. This is insane, she said. It was a push, it was nothing. A woman stepped forward. Dr. Ellen Harper, 50, calm and steady. I witnessed the shove, she said clearly. It was deliberate. Silence fell heavier than before. Veronica's last defense crumbled. Alexander's voice cut through again. This was attempted murder. The words landed like a verdict. Security stepped in closer. Veronica didn't fight. Because for the first time, she understood. She had lost. Completely. Behind them, Clara still lay motionless. And then, a shift. Barely noticeable at first. A breath. Then another. The medic leaned in. She's stabilizing. The tension snapped. The crowd exhaled, shaken, stunned. But the damage had already been done. Hours later, the hospital room was quiet. Clean. Still. Clara's eyes opened slowly. Clear. Focused. Alive. Alexander sat beside her, his hand wrapped around hers. His expression. No longer storm. Something softer. Something deeper. I used to think I had to protect you, he said quietly. Clara's lips curved slightly. But today, he continued, you showed me how to stand with you. She looked at him. Calm. Unshaken. I didn't want their apologies, she said softly. I wanted their consequences. Her mind flickered. To the YMCA pool. To the water. To the vow she made when she nearly drowned. This time, she didn't survive. She controlled the outcome. Alexander nodded slowly. He understood now. Everything. The silence. The patience. The precision. This wasn't revenge born from anger. It was justice built on strategy. The fallout was immediate. Veronica Vance was charged with attempted murder. Bail denied. Her name, erased from elite circles. Her family's empire, bleeding millions overnight. Ethan Brooks' hedge fund faced audits. Lila Grant's fashion contracts collapsed. Marcus Tate lost his political access. One by one, they fell. Not because of rumors, but because of truth. Exposed. Documented. Undeniable. Weeks later, the Clarendon estate stood quieter. Its marble columns unchanged. But its power gone. And Clara, the girl they once called Grey Mouse, was no longer a shadow. She was something else entirely. Not loud. Not arrogant. But undeniable. As she and Alexander walked forward, side by side, there was no need for words. Because everyone understood now. They laughed when she fell. They stayed silent when she rose. He jumped in to save her. But she was never drowning. She was hunting. And now. The water was calm. But their world was sinking.